Okay, we've all been there, right? Staring at that blinking cursor on a blank page, just trying to figure out how you're going to turn months, maybe even years of complex research into a clear, compelling scientific paper. It can feel absolutely overwhelming. But what if I told you there's a proven roadmap to get you from that blinking cursor to a published manuscript? I mean, this is the core challenge, isn't it? The research is done, the data is there, but communicating it effectively, that is a completely different skill. But here's the good news. It's a skill you can totally master, and we're about to break down the framework that makes it possible, step by step.
So let's just reframe this whole thing. Forget about that intimidating blank page. Instead, think of this as a journey with a clear map. We're going to walk through every single stage, from crafting that very first sentence all the way to navigating your final submission. Let's start with the foundation.
You know, every great paper is built on a solid foundation. And in the world of scientific writing, that foundation really comes down to just two things: the sentence and the paragraph. Seriously, if you can get these right, the rest of the structure will fall into place so much more easily.
You might actually be surprised by how simple this is. The most effective sentences in science aren't long and complicated, they're incredibly direct. The key, the absolute key, is to stick to one core idea per sentence. And using a simple subject-verb-object structure, that's almost always your best bet for immediate clarity.
All right, so from sentences, we naturally build up to paragraphs, and a strong scientific paragraph isn't just a random block of text. It follows a really clear blueprint. First, you start with a topic sentence that tells the reader what it's all about. Then, you present your evidence, your data, your methods. After that, you explain why it matters, its significance. And finally, you create a little bridge to the next idea. This structure creates a logical flow that just guides your reader right through your argument. It's beautiful. Okay, with that solid foundation in place, now we can start assembling the paper itself. So how do we actually build out these core sections? Well, the trick is to stop seeing them as separate, annoying tasks and start seeing them as interconnected chapters of one single cohesive story. First up, the abstract. You know, the biggest mistake people make is writing this at the very end as just a quick summary. Don't do that. Instead, think of it as your entire paper in miniature. This formula tells the whole story. You set the context, you identify a specific problem, you describe what you did to solve it, you state what you found, and then you explain why it's a big deal. Now, the introduction uses what's often called the funnel approach. You start really broad to hook the reader with the big picture, then you systematically narrow your focus down through the existing literature. And the ultimate goal here is to pinpoint a critical, unanswered question, a gap in our knowledge. Then boom, your work is perfectly positioned as the solution to that very specific problem. Next up, we have the methods and results sections. They work like a tag team, but they tell two very different stories. The methods section is the how story. Its whole goal is reproducibility, letting another scientist perfectly repeat what you did. The results section, on the other hand, is the what story. Its goal is pure, unadulterated objectivity, just clearly stating what you found. And listen, this is probably the most important rule for your results section. You have to stick to the objective facts. Figure 1 shows X increased by 20%. That's it. You don't get into why it increased or what it all means. Not yet. All of that brilliant interpretation, that's saved for the discussion section. That's where you really get to shine. Finishing a first draft is a huge milestone. So seriously, take a moment and celebrate it. But the journey isn't quite over. Now comes the art of revision. And this is so much more than just fixing typos. It's a strategic process for polishing your work until it is absolutely ready for the world. To make editing feel less overwhelming, try the 5-pass method. Instead of trying to fix everything at once, which is impossible, you read through your draft 5 separate times, each with a single goal. Your first pass is just for logic. The second is for clarity. Then for precision, cutting out fluff, then grammar, and finally for style. This breaks a massive task into 5 focused, totally achievable steps. So, you've submitted your paper, and now comes the part that everybody dreads, peer review. But look, while the feedback can sometimes be tough, how you respond is a critical skill that can literally make or break your chances of getting published. So let's talk strategy for turning that feedback into an acceptance letter. The approach here is simple but incredibly powerful. First, always thank the reviewers for their time. It's often a volunteer effort. Then you must address every single comment point by point. Even if you think a comment is way off base, you have to maintain a respectful, professional tone. And if you do decide to push back, don't just state your opinion, defend it with data or new citations.
All right, let's pull back to the big picture for a second. Beyond all the rules of grammar and manuscript structure, what are the habits and mindsets that really separate the people who get published from those who don't? If there's only one thing you remember from this entire explainer, please make it this. The real secret isn't some flash of genius or inspiration. It's consistency. Writing just a little bit every single day will always, always outperform waiting for these big, heroic bursts of motivation. It's all about building a sustainable habit, not waiting for a miracle.
And here are a few other habits that'll make all the difference. When you read other papers, don't just skim for the data. Analyze how they're structuring their arguments. Get feedback on your work early, even when it feels messy and incomplete. Keep a phrase bank, just a simple document where you collect useful expressions you find. And crucially, apply all these techniques to your real research from day one. So let's end on this really powerful idea. Scientific writing isn't about some innate talent you either have or you don't. It is a skill, and it's a skill that's forged through practice and persistence. Every single published author you admire started exactly where you are now, with a blank page. The only difference is they just kept going. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. After seeing this roadmap laid out, what is the one small, manageable first step you're going to take, maybe even today, to move your research from your mind out onto the page? Thanks for tuning in.